Here we are for episode 28.
28. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Sorry, guys. We've been kind of away for a while because last time I think we were kind of both not feeling too well, and some of that had to do with the time change. Again, we've discussed this before, but
Mm.
yeah, basically because of my situation, like the night previous, it's really hard for me to kind of get up really early in the morning to do this. But so I figured we would do it but we've kind of reached a compromise. We're doing this at a slightly later time than we're doing it. So I'm feeling good. I don't know how you're feeling this late at night, but
No, I'm fine. I'm a night owl actually, so yeah, I'd be
um,
up this time. I'd be up for a couple of hours anyway. It's
okay,
it's
that's not
11
good.
p.m. here, but I'm normally up to about 1 or so, maybe
Well,
even even a bit later. I shouldn't be, but I often am.
yeah, that's not so bad though. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I had this nightmare yesterday that we had the goalpost and I was so out of energy I said basically nothing. So yeah, so this time I'm trying to do the opposite of that. And I know the last few shows I've been kind of out of energy, it seemed like. But let's change that. Let's have some
Yeah.
fun today. So
Yeah, sounds good. And we are planning to have a few guests. So we've got to get a couple of
mhm,
guests lined up for for future episodes.
absolutely.
So, yes, I believe I was going to start with a couple of my items.
Yeah, let's do
So,
that. Yeah.
yep. So today is International Men's Day. At least it is for me, and it would be for you now as well, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's
Yep.
correct. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so we haven't done much at A Voice for Men this year. I think partly from my perspective, it was because I had the trips to New Zealand and India, and I was quite busy there for a while with those preparation and so forth. And yes, we haven't done much with IMD this year, but I think next year I'd like to do something for it. But there are a few events going on. There was an event in Australia in Canberra. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but a number of people who I know were able to go, a number of friends and a presenter, which was absolutely fabulous. It was called Zero Suicide, and basically they actually had 2,500 men have taken their own lives in Australia in the last year, and they had 2,500 shoes out in front of the Australian Parliament House, which was it was really quite shocking to see actually when you look at the pictures of it. But there, so a number of people presented there, and apparently a number of politicians went by. So hopefully it left a bit of an impression with our federal politicians. But we didn't do much at AVFM this year, as I said. But I think in next year I'd like to cook something up actually. So
Yeah.
main thing I wanted to talk about, I know you've got a few items going. The main thing I wanted to talk about was a little quick update on Zoe McClellan. First of all, don't get too excited. Zoe McClellan is unfortunately still outstanding, and she's still wanted by authorities in Los Angeles County. But there was an effort over the last couple of weeks that I participated in. It wasn't actually initiated by me, so I'm not the only person doing thinking aware of this problem with Wikipedia. But her Wikipedia article, of course, as I've described before, the information about her arrest warrant was removed. I had written some information in there. It was removed by someone else. Another party, a third party, had noticed this as well and decided to tried to get the information back in. A couple of people got involved with that. I got an automated message because of the changes that were going on the page, and I had a look as well. And we tried to get this information back on the page. We have not been successful. However, I do think that it was good that it prompted a bit of a discussion. There was a bit of visibility on it. There are various pages in Wikipedia, and I'll get to Wikipedia again in a minute. But there are various pages in Wikipedia where these sort of issues are discussed, and this was discussed not just on the Zoe McClellan page, but on another page as well. Anyway, it was good that I said there was a bit of visibility there. But I did want to give a little bit of background to Wikipedia for those who don't know. So Wikipedia is ultimately owned and controlled by the Wikimedia Foundation. Just for a bit of fun, it's the Wikimedia Foundation. Wikipedia is the site, but the software that it runs on is called MediaWiki. And people get those confused all the time. But as the Wikimedia Foundation has ultimate control of the Wikipedia project, it actually has something called oversight. I'm just going to briefly mention it's not so much relevant to this discussion, but it's worth knowing about. Oversight allows the Wikimedia Foundation to remove an edit from Wikipedia and for there to be no evidence that the edit actually occurred, which normally doesn't happen. Normally, if something is removed from Wikipedia, there's a paper trail. But oversight actually allows the Wikimedia Foundation to remove information in a manner which shows that it was never, which looks like it was never even there. It's supposed to only be used in cases where something is put in Wikipedia which will be defamatory towards the Wikimedia Foundation. Hopefully that's the only time it's being used, but we can't really say. I hope that's the case. Anyway, for those who don't know, Wikipedia is actually made up of a large number of separate projects. What we normally talk about, of course, is the English Wikipedia, which is by far the largest project. But the thing is, these projects are all different, and they're all of different sizes, and the rules can be quite different. So if you're talking about something like, I think the Hebrew Wikipedia has something like 100 editors, or from memory, that figure might be a little bit old, but a few years ago it had 100 active editors. English Wikipedia has thousands of active editors, very active editors, and tens of thousands of people who edit, occasionally. There are some projects where there are a half a dozen editors, and in a project like that, if there's a dispute between the editors, it can be dealt with informally. There's only half a dozen people. They've probably got to know each other. They all speak the same language. They can probably come to some sort of accommodation. But the English Wikipedia is so large, formal processes are necessary. I have gone through the entire arbitration process. I've had a Wikipedia account for nearly 20 years on the English Wikipedia, and I've actually gone to the trouble of going through the entire arbitration process in a edit dispute with another editor, and I was really underwhelmed by the process. This is specifically to the English Wikipedia. They found in my favor, and yet nothing was really done about it. The other editor continued to be a problem. There was no real enforcement. So I think that there's a lot of problems on the English Wikipedia. It's very biased in many ways. It's very woke, but there's also functional problems. But I'm not a rules lawyer on Wikipedia. That's an old term from role-playing games and so forth. Some people were rules lawyers. I'm not a rules lawyer when it comes to going.
That's actually really funny. You've got to remind me to talk about rules lawyers, because there's something that's not men's issues related I want to talk about at the end of the show. So please remind me. Yeah.
Yes, cool. Yeah. So I'm not a rules lawyer on Wikipedia. I am familiar with the rules broadly. I don't really, I'm not terribly strict. I'm more inclined to make an edit, and if other editors have a problem with it, they'll tell me about it. But something happened with the Zoe McClellan Wikipedia article that really surprised me. There is a rule in there that I wasn't aware of. So the Wikipedia is strict on biographies of living persons, and that's really because of the risks of defamation and so forth. It's one of the few areas, by the way, where Wiki4Men follows Wikipedia rules to some extent. We have exceptions, but broadly we follow the same the same rules regarding biographies of living people. I actually extend them to all biographies, the same rules. But there's one rule in the English Wikipedia that I wasn't aware of, and we certainly do not follow this on Wiki4Men. But I will read it. It's in the biographies of living persons page. And it's called, the heading is Avoid Misuse of Primary Sources. For those who don't know, Wikipedia prohibits original research. That, by the way, is another area where Wiki4Men is different. We encourage original research, but Wikipedia actually prohibits original research. But I was really shocked by this, and I'll read it. And this is a direct quote. Exercise extreme caution in using primary sources. Do not use trial transcripts and other court records or other public documents to support assertions about a living person. Do not use public records that include personal details such as date of birth, home value, traffic citations, public registrations, and home or business addresses. Where primary source material has been discussed by a reliable secondary source, it may be acceptable to rely on it to augment the secondary source, subject to the restrictions of this policy, no original research, and other sourcing policies. So, to be very clear here, this is talking about documents that are public, that are in the public domain, and it's saying that you can't use them on Wikipedia. Now, it's saying things like you can't use personal addresses and so forth, fine, even though they're in the public domain, but it says you can't use trial transcripts and other court records. Now, I have original court records for Zoe McClellan, and they are in the public domain, and they were supplied to me by somebody who's involved in the matter. And but as I said, they are in the public domain, and this policy explicitly precludes them being used. And in actual fact, they cited it to me. So that's one of the reasons that it's not in there, because I dropped original court documents on there and said, look, we know this is real. Here it is. And they said, can't use court documents. And I am honestly at a loss to understand why there would be a policy like that at Wikipedia. Okay, as I said, maybe you don't want to mention someone's home address, fine. But what about public records regarding criminal offences? That's extraordinary that you can't use court records. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I really was. In the 19 years I've been involved in Wikipedia, I've never seen anything like this. So anyway, there is the rule, and that's what they cited, and that's why we weren't able to get it on the page.
I see.
Yeah. So that's the main thing I wanted to say about Zoe McClellan. I will, of course, mention Zoe McClellan at the end of the presentation, as I always do.
All right, sounds good, and I'll be sure to remind you because you always forget.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And I'm going to write down rules lawyers. There we go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, one thing that I kind of wanted to add to that, not to the Zoe McClellan thing, but regarding your wikis, I think this sometimes people think that Wikipedia invented the whole thing, but it's not actually true. Wikipedia is just the most popular kind of wiki, and a wiki is not an encyclopedia in itself. It's just a platform in which users are free to add, because they're free to add material, and it was invented by a guy called Ward Cunningham.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Jimmy Wales did not invent the thing.
Exactly, that's right. You're right. Wikis have been around for a number of years, and in actual fact, the name Wikipedia came about because it was an encyclopedia using a wiki. So that's right. The wikis, as you said, already existed for several years before Wikipedia appeared.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I remember this weird marketing thing from Wikipedia ages ago that said that Wiki stood for what I know is, but this is a myth. This is a myth. It's
that's right.
I think the name came from like wiki or something like that, which kind of meant fast, kind of snappy, quick. I think
it's a Hawaiian term, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah,
from memory.
I want to say that's what it is, but yeah,
it was some time ago I read about it, but that's my recollection that it's from a Hawaiian language, I think.
Absolutely.
Or a Hawaiian slang or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of for men, so Charlotte Proudman finally got you, didn't he? Like she.
You mean the band? Yeah, yeah. So I got banned by Charlotte Proudman. It was actually a little while ago, a few months ago, but I happened to mention it recently. I was on Wiki for Men. I did for several months record Charlotte Proudman's comments on Twitter, X, because I've always said the most powerful words we have are feminist own words, because really they hang themselves by their own petard when they speak. So the best thing to do, don't ever try to silence a feminist. As Napoleon said, don't ever interrupt your opponent when he's making a mistake. No, I'm a firm believer in passionate believer in free speech, but I always have been. But when it comes to feminists, there's an extra reason not to silence them. It's they reveal their own nature, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. At some point I did actually comment on one of her posts, and obviously she didn't like my comment, and I got banned. So I wasn't able to. I guess I could create alt accounts and stuff and have a look at her tweets, but. Really, as I said on one of our internal chats, it was probably a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it was really taking up quite a lot of time. Some of her tweets were sort of so bizarre that it was taking quite a lot of time to record them. Also, it was probably a bit of a blessing in disguise that I got banned and I don't have to worry about her anymore. So maybe somebody else could take up the mantle and start recording her tweets. But I think it'll be worth it. But I've got other things to do. But I think I've got enough there that I've made my point anyway.
Right. Well, we said this before. They are our PR department. These feminists are our PR department.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah, they are their PR department. Absolutely. Yeah, the marketing department. Yep, that's right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Right. And speaking of being blocked on X Twitter, guess who else did that to me because they didn't like what I said? Some shoe, whoever the hell shoe is.
Shoe on head?
Yeah, shoe on head. That's right. Yeah, that's
yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, go on. Yeah,
no, you go on because
I've never been much of a fan of Shoe on Head. A long time ago, back in sort of a decade and a half ago, there was a close association between some of these YouTubers and some people that are Voices for Men and so forth. Before perhaps we knew as much about them. I've personally never been much of a fan of Shoe on Head, but.
Here's the thing. What's there to be a fan of? I mean, she's just kind of regurgitating our talking points when it's any good. Yeah. And just kind of like a Kim Kardashian deal, famous for being famous. We just know who Shu is because she's
Yeah.
just Shu, and I've never watched her videos or anything like that. But
And
yeah,
go on, yeah.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
And I was going to say, I've often said that a lot of people are not ready to hear what, say, a Voice for Men has to say or MRAs have to say, but that message will be taken by others, sometimes massaged, or definitely massaged a bit, and replayed. And I think perhaps Sure One Head is another example where that's happening. I mean, there's certainly some strong arguments about it being gynocentric, but certainly to the extent that she's taking red pill material, it's, as you say, stuff that's already been said on A Voice for Men years ago in many cases.
Right. Yeah, but it's pretty clear that she's far from red pill based on some remarks. So
absolutely,
Paul, our good friend Paul, former Voice for Men, but still strongly, we love him, and we're always working with him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. He says something really, 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 really simple. Women should work. They should not have the choice to be a parasite. And imagine freaking out about that statement.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. It should be the same for men and women, and that's a long time ago. I believe this was something that pretty much everyone in Western society agreed about. It was when I realized that wasn't the case, that not everybody agreed with this, and a lot of people just wanted to give women special treatment. That's when I stepped up and became active.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. But I was going to make my own video for my channel on this thing, more on stay-at-home mom gynecology. But I think I'm going to make that into an actual article on A Voice for Men after I've given some thought about it. I've talked about it in my upcoming interview with Lauren Brooks of HBR, so watch out for that one. That's going to be coming in the near future. So we talked about we talked about stay-at-home mothers a bit. We can talk about it a little bit now, but I kind of want to get the shoe stuff out of the way because it's just still too fun. Shoes going on about how homemaking and caring for children is work, a lot of work, and very important work, and it's just this kind of elevation, this exaltation of housework compared to what men generally do, which is often very mentally taxing or is very physically dangerous.
Yeah,
right. And they have the gall to put these on the same level, and that's a lot of gyneologic. Is that a word?
yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And of course, accusing Paul of downplaying his own mother and like mommy issues and something like that. It's this is the true face of these grifters, and I call them grifters completely.
So, as a dad, I have some thoughts on that.
Please.
Yeah, as looking after a small child can be work, right? They can be a handful, right? But the thing is, it doesn't last that long, right? As the years pass, the children who are normally developmentally normal will just become more and more independent as they grow, and even by the time they're 5, they've got a lot more independence in the sense that there's things they can do for themselves, right? And by the time they're a teenager, most of them want to be alone and don't want you to do anything for them, right? So it doesn't last that long. It's that infant stage, yes, that can be a bit of work, but you're talking a year or two, and let's face it, the average number. What's the average number of births per woman now in Australia? It's under 1.5. In Korea, it's under 1. Right. This same argument, by the way, is a counter argument to the idea that we still hear feminists claiming that one of the reasons why women are paid less is that we leave the workforce to look after children. But the reality is women aren't doing that for very long anymore. Some women only do it for a few weeks. Even if they are stay-at-home mothers, they're really only doing it for a few years. They had 1 child, maybe 2, and they stayed for a few years. Are they out for 5 years? That would probably be a lot now in a lot of cases. So it's not something that, even if you've got a couple of kids and you're spending 2 years and you have another one 2 years, you're only looking at 4 or 5 years there. So
furthermore, it's not something so hard only a mom can do it.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm not a mom, and I did it.
Yeah, both parents have a hand in this thing, and this is not
change diapers.
Exactly, they do it. It's just stereotyped.
You learn how to do it. You deal with it.
Buy into the stereotype that men are all Homer Simpsons. They're all Peter Griffins from Family Guy. and all that stuff. So yeah, the trad gynocentrist grifters are buying that, which is,
That's right.
you think, is something that they see through, but they're not. And Shoes keeps on going on. It was a so this is the post I was responding to. It was she's saying, her words, it was a response to weirdo manosphere folks saying women bring no value to men or society because they don't work stereotypical male jobs, and I don't expect them, and we shouldn't force them to. Value is more than that, and we're yin and yang. So that's her quote. So,
yeah, that's a sort of a biological determinist position, actually,
yes,
saying that
exactly,
men are
yes.
yin and yang.
Yeah, absolutely. And note the condescension in how she said stereotypical male jobs. It's more dismissive than any kind of regard, respect, or anything like that. And
and I think it misses the point about what we are saying as well.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And you know what I said that had me block her?
What's that?
She thinks Shu thinks having it easy and sheltered because of men and their stereotypical male jobs means providing value. And
sorry, say that again.
Yeah,
right.
She thinks having it easy and sheltered because of men and their stereotypical male jobs means providing value.
Right, for the women providing value.
Right. Yes. Yeah. She thinks having it easy and sheltered, being a stay-at-home mom, means providing value.
Means providing value. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But she's blocked everybody. Like she blocked me, Hannah Wallen, Lauren Brooks. Probably we talked a little bit about that in my upcoming interview. But that's just it was a fun time at that time. It was like a week or two ago. But yeah.
Yes, I saw a little bit of that going on Twitter. I've never really, as I said, I've never really paid much attention to Sean Head. So chances are I can still see her account because I've never really interacted with her. So I might pop over and see what's going on the page.
Well, the only capacity that I've actually paid attention to her is that, to the extent that she's as a grifter as much as, say, the Sydney Watsons and the Lauren Southerns and whoever. Yes, or I know you've worked with Sydney. I feel tiny bit guilty for ragging on her. I know you had an article and everything, so
well, my position on it. I was disappointed by the things that were said after. As I said, I have met with her and worked with her, and I presented at an event she helped organize. So
sure, yeah. But one person that I don't think necessarily fits that bill is Pearl, because I think she's actually reaching out to the right people and actually talking about a very difficult subject that can, under normal circumstance, it hasn't helped us much, talking about gynocentrism. So so you mentioned to me that you want to talk about Pearl a bit. So, and we're game for just about any opinion on her here. So.
No, I hadn't actually sort of prepared anything. But
sure. Well, maybe next time. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to mention one point so Pearl has said a number of times that she's against women's suffrage. So, and there are, and of course, this is a position that Janet Bloomfield, for those who don't know, espoused as well. So Janet, for those who don't know, left men's rights activism some years ago after threats were made against her children, and she completely withdrew from all online activism. But she had previously she worked with A Voice for Men probably from about 2013, probably more to about 2016, 2017, I think more. Then she sort of was doing some other online activism as well, and more probably broadly anti-feminism. And one position she always maintained was that women's suffrage should be removed. So this is a position that I don't agree with Janet on, and I don't agree with Pearl on. And the reason broadly, as I said, this is something I'll probably write. I'm actually planning to write an article on this at some stage. But broadly, I think when you start to tamper with universal suffrage and you start saying that groups can and cannot, who can and cannot vote, I think it really opens a can of worms. And so I think that's extremely dangerous. And I always say that when people say things like this, my response is often, are you so sure your opponents aren't better at this than you are? So if you start saying this group of people can have the franchise removed, what if in 50 years another group uses that as a basis to get you removed or someone other group? So, and there's also the fact that the suffrage isn't just about voting. It's also about having recourse to government, having had been able to quite literally complain to your MP. I personally, without going into details, I personally had to complain to an MP in Australia once about a government department, and I was actually really impressed by the result. It had been a problem for months, and I wrote a letter because it was pre-email days, so I actually wrote a typed letter to my MP and posted it. So it took a couple of days or a day to get there or something. 10 days from the day I posted my letter, the matter was resolved.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it created and having worked in government a little bit as a police officer, I know what goes on inside the machinery of government, and basically it creates, your MP sends it to, in Australia, your MP sends it to the minister of the relevant area, and that creates what is called a ministerial file, and that is the highest priority file that they have. And basically the minister then looks down into their department and says, fix it. Or the minister's department, minions really do it. Yeah. And it basically appears as a high priority task and basically somebody, I knew when I was in the police, I actually saw a ministerial file that had appeared in my station, and a police officer was called into a meeting, not me, it was someone else. They were called into a meeting and handed the file and said, this is all you do until it's resolved. So this female police officer then went off, and that was all she did until this matter was resolved. So it can work. Certainly in Australia, I think certainly other Westminster countries, they more or less work the same way. But anyway, what I was getting to is voting is part of the process of having recourse to government, and so for these reasons, I'm against removing suffrage from any identifiable group. I'm not disputing the arguments. To be very clear here, I think there are some valid arguments that are being made, but they alone, I think, can't be the basis for removing suffrage from a particular group.
Sure, yeah, right. And I'm going to do a bit of a sneak preview of the Lauren Brooks interview to come, because we talked about the repeal of the 19th argument,
19th Amendment.
Yeah, sure. And a sneak preview of that one. The best argument I've heard for repealing the 19th Amendment is that men have always voted for women's sensibilities anyway, so it's not like they needed it. That's like the best argument so far I've heard for repealing it. But I'm actually in agreement with you in terms of that, because here's the thing. So I know Pearl's kind of having fun with the whole women shouldn't vote thing, right? But no disrespect to her or anything, but this is the problem with that, is that you're kind of saying that. So if I were a woman wearing such a shirt, like a wearing t-shirt and saying women shouldn't vote and stuff like that, I'm basically advertising that I suck. I can't be relied upon to make a good judgment for anything like that. And I think the better thing is to actually expect them to judge properly, but no free passes. You've got to actually hold them to accountability. So it's not everything that a woman does is perfect, because goodness knows it hasn't been. But you've got to expect him to uphold that standard and act. And in my personal opinion, this has been the whole problem with gynocentrism, is the curtailing and bypassing of all of that.
Yes.
The
bypassing of women's accountability. Exactly. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. The prejudice of low expectations is another. Sargon of Akkad has often said that. So that's right. If they have a very low opinion of the expectations of women, whereas I would say, okay, yes, there have been differences between men and women's voting patterns, but we're talking about adults here, and I expect adults to act like adults.
Absolutely. Right. All right. Is there anything else on your list right now?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, because I'm a bit sad, because I thought we had like a pretty extensive list and we kind of zipped right through it.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Well, I have more, but I'm just saying that so far we've been kind of like, what are we, like a half an hour, less than half an hour?
Yeah, I'm happy for these episodes to go as long as they need to. We've had some quite long ones. We've had some shorter ones. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm being the anxiety is playing back into me. Like I'd say we have like a jam-packed episode, and it's only been just about half an hour, hasn't it? So
half an hour of high quality content. So that's okay.
Well, yeah, I suppose quality over quantity is like absolutely fine thing to say. But so
is this a good time to mention rules lawyers?
Yes, it is, and I'm going to lead right into that. So
right.
So there's been so I want to show off this this new game that I've got introduced to. It's called Sorcery Contested Realm.
Okay.
So yeah, it's so the artwork is really fun. It's like, so if I can, if the is the
Yep.
quality of the camera good? Okay, so it's hand painted, old school style art,
Oh,
very
nice.
evocative of. I'm not even showing you a good look. Yeah, here we go. And some of these are sites. They're kind of like lands in Magic. They're kind of sideways, but here we go. Here we go. Like
Yep.
really old school, hand painted, really awesome
Nice.
artwork. There's some nods to Magic the Gathering too, like Apprentice Wizard. That's a Magic card, but it's a different card here. And see some others. Let's see.
It
There's
looks quite Magic-esque to
Yeah,
me.
sure.
But,
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, Cone of Flame, that was a Magic card. Wall of Air, that was a Magic card. But it's their own card. It's a Sea Serpent. So it's reminiscent of the Alpha and limited edition Alpha and Beta days of Magic. So I got this. So it used to be a Kickstarter thing, but in my local game store, the beta release of it came out, and I actually got a box of 4 pre-constructed decks, so you can go ahead and start playing.
Nice.
And yeah, sure. And here's another thing. I got a play mat for sorcery. It's like, it's really fun. So you place sites, and you play minions and other things on them. I played a game yesterday at the store just for fun with a friend, and we had some fun. I won, but
Nice.
it was pretty interesting how to kind of figure out as we go how the game went to, because so this is where I'm getting about the rules lawyer thing. So games like Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh tend to have like a lot of rules lawyering elements in it. Somebody's always kind of like a little bit of a rules shark, and really a stickler for rules and stuff. And the more laid out the rules are, perhaps there's more of a case for it. It's a bit more annoying in tournaments where there's a lot to keep track of sometimes. But the reason I wanted to talk about the rules lawyer thing is so there's a golden was it a golden rule? So sorry, I'm looking at this rule book here. Sorry. There's a golden rule that says if a text of a card contradicts the rule book, the card text takes precedence. But there's a silver rule that says some text is intentionally colloquial or necessarily compact. Use common sense and be cool. So basically,
Yeah.
it's like an anti-rules lawyer kind of thing.
Yes.
It's prioritizing. Have fun.
Remember, you're having
yourself.
fun.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, the purpose of this is to have fun. Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
And that is something pretty fundamental, I think. With I do a lot more board gaming these days than I used to do a lot of role playing, but mostly board gaming. But ultimately, it is about having fun, right? Hopefully, the rules are well written and you don't have problems, particularly the board game. But if you do, ultimately, it is about having fun. So, and of course, that's right. And of course, one with board gaming too is not taking too much time with your own turn. Most people are pretty good, but that's something to be conscious of too with other players. That they're waiting, they may be waiting while you're having your turn. So, keep it moving. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Because so there's a deck in Magic the Gathering called Second Sunrise. Basically, it has something to do with like preventing game loss. But the thing is, like the Second Sunrise player takes forever with their turn, so it's kind of jokes. There really will be a second sunrise by the time this game is done. Yeah.
When I was showing Magic the Gathering to my daughter, I explained the Shahrazad card to her and how you ended up playing an entirely new game.
It's a sub-game of Magic.
It's Magic, and you could actually play Shahrazad from within Shahrazad as well, and theoretically basically end up with a stack of games. You'd have to unwind.
It's one of the few cards that are straight up banned, even in Vintage. I think,
exactly. It is. It's completely banned. That's right. Yes, it's a cute card, but it's just completely impractical. They pretty much 5 minutes after they published it, I think they realized the problem and banned it.
Exactly right. Yeah, but I think you would like Sorcery Contested Realm because it feels like a board game, because you're laying out your sites because you have a deck for sites, and you kind of place them where you're allowed to on the board, and so it feels like a board game. It's like board state matters, locations matter and such. So it's like carrying a board game with you in a deck. So,
yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, I might keep an eye out for it. Maybe my local gaming group might like that. Actually,
sure.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, sure. So look out for this box. It's called Sorcery Contested Realm. So
okay. Cool.
It's a lot of. I mean, I only played one game, but I think it's fun.
Yeah, and you also said it sounded a bit like the early days of Magic the Gathering,
it
which of
just
course
feels like that. It's just more. It's not overly well. See, I almost said not overly complicated, but there's a lot of rules that we still kind of had to kind of figure out and kind of
Yep.
assume it works this way. Like,
Yep.
we're not sure what keywords like submerged means for like submerging a creature. Is it dead? It probably is, but we kind of assumed that meant killing off a creature if it's like in an ocean or something like that. So there's a lot of stuff that we're kind of assuming, but I still won.
Yes. And as games get played too, online FAQs start to appear as well and explain some. Often every game's got something that's often, in fact, for a lot of games, a lot of board games and so forth, I actually have I take notes. There's a lot of games where there's one or two rules that are always misunderstood. And I always, when I'm explaining a game to someone, make a point of explaining those rules to them several times. So usually I explain them and then explain it again at the end and then mention it, because there's always one or two that just seem to be always the things that people misunderstand. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of I just wanted to show off the neat game today. In any case, even before you said the rules lawyer thing. So
nice.
Okay, what else do we want to fill out the next few minutes with? Anything else?
Well, I've got my Zoe McClellan spiel, but I'll do that right at the end.
All right, sounds good. Yep. I'm just looking out for any kind of questions, feedback from X Twitter. I call it X Twitter because it's like formerly Twitter. So
I don't like the new name. I feel like I'm trying not to call it Twitter, and on Wiki for Men, I'm making a point of calling it X, of course, But I have to say, I mean, have you tried searching for X, for example? If you search for Twitter or something, if there's a problem on Twitter, you can search for Twitter, but try searching for the letter X. And also, too, in the Linux world, which I live in, X is the name of the graphical user interface that's most popular still. So it's X version 11, usually just called X. So, and some people, when Twitter was changed name to X, some people in the X11, X window community thought that they'd ripped off the actual font that was used for the image but it's actually not. It's actually the basic one from Unicode, I think, that is being used as the font you see on an X. But yeah, I don't like the new name. I hope he changes it back.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what the rationale was. I guess maybe it's just a big fresh start rebranding thing. But the problem is, I mean, hasn't Elon Musk disassociated from Twitter in any case? Or
you directly? You obviously still a majority shareholder, I think. But but he stepped down from having a direct management role, I believe. Yeah, exactly. But apparently he really likes the letter X. I mean, it appears in the name of one of his kids deliberately. Apparently he's got a bit of a thing about the letter X. So, but I don't think it was a good choice, personally.
Yeah. So right now I'm just calling it X Twitter, just because it's kind of a really.
I like that. It's a bit of a pun, actually. X-Twitter.
That was what I was going for.
Oh, that was where you were going with that, right? Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. The artist formerly known as Twitter. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I like it. I might have to take that up. Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So So if that's it, then I guess we're honest to goodness done.
I'll do my spiel on Zoe McClellan.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I didn't have to remind you this time.
No. Yes, I have notes, and I've actually put it at the end of every single one of them now. So. Yep. Have you seen Zoe McClellan? In November 2020, McClellan's ex-husband, Jean Galland, was awarded sole custody of their son, Sebastian Galland. McClellan had already absconded with Sebastian by then. In May 2021, an arrest warrant was issued for McClellan by the County of Los Angeles, California. As of November 2023, McClellan is still at large. Sebastian, who would now be 10, is also missing. McClellan is a public figure who has appeared on numerous popular television shows, including Star Trek Voyager, JAG, NCIS New Orleans, and Designated Survivor. Her face is familiar to millions. It is extraordinary that she has evaded detection for so long. McClellan is originally from Port Orchard, WA. Some locals have speculated she may be hiding out in rural Washington state. Other sources have speculated that she may have traveled to Canada. There's also some suggestion she might be in the New Orleans area, as she has wealthy family there. Anyone with relevant information should contact the Los Angeles County District Attorney's investigator, Claudia Rodriguez. Thank you. And thanks, everybody. Yes, I think we're good to go in 2 weeks, where I think we might have a guest.
Yeah, we might. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we won't divulge anything now because we're never too sure about that. But
Yeah.
yeah, so look out for a goalpost with a guest this time around, and look out on my own channel. Look out for an interview with Lauren Brooks by myself,
Yeah.
and like I said, expect an article on A Voice for a Man about the stay-at-home mother complex.
Looking forward to that, and I'll looking forward to watching the interview with Lauren.
Yep.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. See ya.
Bye.